Buffalo Bills at the Detroit Lions. It's Sunday at 4:25. Lions favored by 2.5 per our friends over at FanDuel. The 12-1 Lions taking on the 10-3 Buffalo Bills. I just want to state for the record here, as an unbiased football fan,
yes,
this would be the Super Bowl matchup I would want to see the most for this season.
I think that this is the Super Bowl matchup that most neutrals would want to see. Like, not everybody. You can never please everybody. But, like, it's difficult to look at these teams in terms of historical story narrative and conclude that this is bad if either one of them wins, right? Buffalo.
But I would feel bad.
Four
really
straight
bad
Super Bowls, losing them all. You know, Detroit haven't won since before it was a Super Bowl, you know, back in the black and white era type of thing. It's hard to think that either one of these teams winning it is a bad thing, ultimately, unless, you know, you have a rooting interest against one of them. So, yeah, I agree. I would like to see this Super Bowl. I think that would be good. And I'm also excited for the matchup. I mean, these are two of the best teams in the NFL this season. Buffalo's coming off, you know, a rough game for them. Detroit is not. But I think obviously the most interesting aspect is, like, the Bills lost, and it was enhancing for Josh Allen's MVP candidacy.
Yeah. Because
their defense couldn't stop anything. So is that going to happen again, or will they actually be able to do something against this juggernaut of a Lions offense?
I was surprised at how bad the Bills' defense looked last week. And not saying it was easy. Like, I think there's two things are true.
Yeah.
Great Matthew Stafford is tough to stop. And there's also a lot of open throws.
Correct.
In that secondary. That was last week with the Bills and the Rams. By the way, I think I'm going to speak softly enough that maybe we're on the same length, same volume this
for the
week.
First time ever. Yeah.
So I don't feel bad.
Great.
About coming down to your level here. But I think it's a big test for Buffalo. Another road dome game against a good passing offense, a good overall offense, and showing that they could stop them. I wonder how much of last week is blueprinty against this Buffalo defense.
Yeah.
Because Kansas City didn't have this kind of success a few weeks ago against Buffalo's defense, but the Rams were dominant and almost unstoppable. And the other point here with the Lions, kind of the inverse of what the Bears have been, is fast starters, but inconsistent in the red zone. In the Bears game a couple weeks ago, they were up 10 at the half against Green Bay last week, and they let them back into the game. Can Detroit get up early and then hold a lead?
Right. I mean, it's possibly another game that has shootout written all over it again. I mean, 44-42 was the Rams-Bills game last week. Detroit had played better than the injury list on defense, but at some point, the injury list on defense is pretty overwhelming, and you're going up against Josh Allen and that Buffalo offense that can put up a ton of points regardless of the defense that they're facing. So, big question mark about whether Buffalo's defense is that bad relative to a good offense, and if Detroit can just roll the way they have all season long. And then on the other side, you know, Detroit's defense is so banged up. Like, can they do anything against Buffalo's offense and Josh Allen? So, like, it's another game where if it came out a similar dynamic, like 30-plus points each side, it wouldn't at all surprise.
Yeah, I wonder how long they can actually do that. I mean, they still have really good players left, right? Maybe the best safety tandem in the league this year in Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch.
Assuming they're healthy. I mean, Branch left that game hurt, right?
Assuming they're healthy. But, you know, Quan Alexander coming off the street to play linebacker.
Right.
And just the revolving door of defensive linemen. It has to catch up at some point. And they played well overall in the Green Bay game. But against this Bills offense, I think that's going to be a challenge.
Definitely. I mean, it feels like the kind of unit where you're waiting for it to have the kind of capitulation that Buffalo had last week, and it hasn't really happened yet. I mean, they've done it in halves where they've given up a ton, but overall, this Lions defense it's held its own relative to expectations given all the injuries.
You got a Gregory Rousseau versus Penei Sewell matchup, which is fun. Von Miller, whenever he's out there as well. Anytime, this Detroit offensive line, I rave about it every single week. Their ability to win in every single way, with speed, with power, with the O-line, with agility, with difficult, matchup players. At this point in the season, the analysis, I think, is simple for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
My thing with the Lions is don't turn the ball over. Goff, he threw a bad pick. Like, he had the 4-pick game a couple weeks ago. That was a bad pick in the second half last week against Green Bay. That's what literally allowed the Packers back in. If Goff takes care of the ball, I think Detroit remains unstoppable offensively.
Yeah, though you also have that, again, same analysis every single week, but Detroit, how they do on fourth down. They are going to give teams high leverage opportunities to swing the game in one direction or the other. Last week against Green Bay, it was 4-1 in their favor, right? They went for it 5 times. They got 4 of them. The 5th one they failed. It was in their own territory, and Green Bay got a touchdown off that. So just on those plays, you're talking a couple of touchdowns, the game-winning, effectively, conversion, and then a 7-point swing in Green Bay's favor by giving them a short field and setting them up. So, those are 4 of the most important plays in the entire game were all Detroit decisions to go for it on fourth down, and how that goes. So far, they've been working out in Detroit's favor overall, right? In big picture terms. 4-1, it was still enough to win the game. But people have been making the point. The people that hate this aggression and the fourth down decisions of Dan Campbell, they're like, this is why they didn't win in the postseason last year. This is why they're not going to win again this year. A team like Buffalo is the type of team that it could come back to haunt against, right? A good team overall. They might have a game like the Rams game, right? But if they're able to hold on 3 fourth downs, it could be the difference.
I put some numbers to what you're describing with the aggressiveness of the Lions last night for my SMWW class, which I think you can still sign up for, smww.com.
Do I get a discount for signing up?
Yeah, because you've missed the first half of the class. You might get half off.
Cool.
If you want to come join and learn some stuff. But I was looking up some numbers using the PFF fourth down model. And
right.
So on plays where the PFF model suggests to kick, either kick or punt, on plays where the model suggests kick, the team that has disagreed with that the most and gone for it is the Lions, 28% of the time. So 28% of the time.
Almost a third of the time the thing says kick. Dan Campbell's still going, screw it, I'm going.
Against a pretty aggressive go-for-it model
right.
that PFF has developed, and the Lions are the most aggressive team. So I thought that was fun to kind of confirm what we've been feeling. It's not just the analytics. This is Dan Campbell and his style. And so when we're predicting games, the challenge always is we could talk about sides of the ball and this and that, but it's game flow and some of those one-off plays. What happens in the red zone, what happens on fourth down ends up determining everything.
Yeah, I think we were kind of lamenting this before going on, that at this point in the season, a lot of the analysis feels the same every single week. It sounds annoying to keep repeating it, but I mean, it's a factor every single game the Lions play. Because of that hyper-aggression relative to everybody else, they are going to put a ton of high-leverage plays on the table that are effectively at risk, right? And if you're able to do that as a defense, if you're able to show up on those plays alone, you can swing the game in your favor massively. So, even if you're like, okay, this Lions offense is unstoppable, they're going to put up a ton of yards, points, etc. If the Bills defense is able to have 3 good plays, it could be the difference.
Yeah. Last point I wanted to make, Buffalo's offense, I think last year there was hints of this. My description of Buffalo's offense this year, ironically, in the Josh Allen MVP year, this is the best, most well-rounded Buffalo offense that Josh Allen's had as far as answers, yak, run the ball, lean on Allen, whatever it might be. So they have answers to everything, and I think that's potentially the difference in this one. I love the Lions, but I think we might overrate what Buffalo looked like last week, and they're going to look much better.
I would assume some kind of bounce back from the Bills, if just because, their defense is simply not as bad as it looked last week, even adjusting for the fact that the Rams are a very good offense and can put up a ton of points. I hesitate to use the word embarrassing, but they almost didn't stop the Rams for the entire game.
Their worst in a while.
Yeah.
In a while. All right, so let's make a pick. Lions by 2.5 here.
Going with Detroit. Because why?
Lions fans pay the bills, man.
Lions,
they're paying the bills. Now, I made that point last week, and they didn't cover against Green Bay, right?
I'm not saying it's
half.
guarantee or anything. I'm just saying that's the way I'm leaning.
By the half point last week. So yeah, Detroit, we love you.
I'm also only using it as like an emblematic, slogan. I'm not actually using that to determine my pick.
Right. So yeah, they pay the bills. We appreciate what you guys bring to the table. My favorite fan base, the Lions. I'm going to take Buffalo to bounce back this week, though, in part because I got to be different. I got to be a little different here down the stretch, trying to catch up.
How are you going to call back? What is it, 18 wins you're trailing?
I'm going to go
in a couple of weeks. That's pretty rough.
To 16-0 week.
We're also clearly just around the corner from me having like a 2-win week and dropping myself back to the middle of the pack again.
Harry's going to take the Lions, so you guys agree.
Nice.
You and 9-year-old Harry.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.